Dear students, in this video we'll see a very interesting chapter and very important for all the examination, that is direct and inverse proportions. So first, direct proportions. Now imagine if you are going to buy a vegetable and you have some basic doubts. For example, how much for a kg? So the vegetable vendor replied you, for 1 kg the cost is 10 per rupees. Okay, so for 1 kg it is going to cost you rupees 10. So now the next question from you, it would be, what is the cost of 3 kg? So definitely now you know, if 1 kg is 10 rupees, so what will be the cost of 3 kg? So answer is 30. Okay, so for 3 kg the rupees is 30. Now what's going on here? If you see this in detail, if you take the ratio, okay, ratio 1 by 10, and here if you take the ratio 3 by 30, if I cancel 30 and 3, I get 1 by 10. So if you see on the both side, the ratio is constant. So remember one thing, when the ratio is constant, that is called as direct proportion. So both the ratios are equal here. Next, let us try to understand with another example. Now here, suppose I am going to travel in my car to a certain place. I started my journey at 7 a.m. and I traveled for 1 a.m., that is 8 a.m. and I reached 60 kilometer. So in 1 hour, I reach 60 kilometer. Now suppose if I put you a question, suppose if the time traveled is 1 hour and the distance is 60 kilometer. And now if I ask you a question, suppose if I travel for 2 hours, that means imagine I started at 7 a.m. and now I am traveling for 2 hours continuously and I stop my journey at 9 a.m. So can you tell me what will be the distance covered? Yes, you are right. The answer is 120 kilometer. Now let us have one more example. Now for example, I started my car journey at 7 a.m. and now I am traveling 3 hours. So I traveled at 9 a.m. and I stopped my journey at 10 a.m. So can you tell me how much distance did I travel? The answer is 180 kilometers. Yes, you are right. So now let us try to understand what's happening here. Okay, so from first hour to second and the second to third hour, the distance is also in the same ratio. So if one quantity increases, the other quantity also increases. So this is the case of direct variations. Okay, now let us check the ratio between the distance and the time. So if I take the distance on the numerator and time in the denominator, and if I divide 60 by 1, I get the value as 60. Next, let us see 120 and 2. If I take 120 and divide by 2, I get the value as 60. So the value remains the same. And the last, if I take 180 by 3, I get the answer as 60. So the value remains the same. So this is a case of direct variation. Okay. Now imagine weight and amount. Okay, so if the weight is increasing, okay, the amount will also increase. So we may say this is a case of a direct variation. In order to confirm, you know that the ratio of the two quantities should remain constant. So then only you can call it as direct variation. So if the weight is 1 kg and the amount is 10 rupees, what would happen if the weight is 3 kg? The amount will be 30 rupees. So this is the example of direct variation. If the one variable is increasing, the other will also definitely increase. Okay. Now here there is a like a symbol, y varies directly to proportional to x. Okay, so let us remove this symbol alpha, and now I will write y by x is equal to k. So k is a constant. So our first job is to remove the value of k. In direct variation, the ratio is constant. Let us see how to calculate the increase or decrease percentage. So we'll have an example here now. This is the first example. The price of the scooter was 34,000 last year. If it has increased by 20% this year, what is the price now? So look at the question here. Last year 34,000 was the cost of the scooter, and this year it is increased to 20%. So first you have to find out how much rupees has increased. So now let us try to see how we are going to solve it. The original price of the scooter is 34,000, right? Now the cost increased to 20%. Okay, so the cost increase was 20%. And now if you want to find the price now, what is the new price? You have to add the original price and the increased price. So the target here is to find the increased price. Okay, so now how I'm going to do it? The amount is calculated as 20% of its original price. So what happens? 20% off, the original price is 34,000. So now we can solve this equation. So 20 by 100 off means into and 34,000. So when I solve this, if I cancel these zeros, I get the answer as 20 into 340, that is 6,800. Okay, so now the new price is 6,800 plus the original price. So what is happening here is that the original was 34,000, due to 20% increase, the answer is 6,800. So if I add this two, I get the answer as 34,000 plus 6,800 is 40,800. So this is how I am going to solve some questions in direct and indirect proportion. Next, following are the car parking charges near a railway station. Okay, for 4 hours they charge rupees 60, for 8 hours they charge 100, for 12 hours 140, 24 hours it's 180. Check if the parking are in direct proportional to the parking time. So first I have to find, you know that in direct proportional we have the ratios common. Okay, the ratio should not change. So let us try to understand. There are two quantities here. First is the time and the next is the amount. Okay, so let us check whether the given quantities are in direct variation. If the parking time increases, then the parking charges will also increase. That means in direct variation, if one quantity increases, the other quantity should also increase. So let us see whether it happens. So if it is in that case, it is a direct variation. So parking time, parking charges. So now I am going to take the ratio of parking charges divided by the parking time. So first I am going to write the variables here: 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours and 24 hours. Parking charges is rupees 60, rupees 100, rupees 140 and rupees 180. So now I am going to take the ratio. Therefore, the quantities of the ratio is going to be checked and we'll just judge now whether it is direct or indirect. So what happens? 60 by 4, I get the answer as 15. Next, 100 by 8, I get the answer as 25 by 2, that is 12.5. Then 140 divided by 12, I get the answer as 35 by 3. And 180 divided by 24, I get the answer as 25 by 2. Now if you see all these ratios, okay, since 15 by 1 is not equal to 25 by 2, which is not equal to 35 by 3 and which is not equal to 25 by 2, here I come to a conclusion that the parking charges are not in direct proportional with the parking time. Okay, so these things you have to keep in mind. Next question. A mixture of paint is prepared by mixing 1 part of red pigments with 8 parts of base. In the following table, find the parts of the base that need to be added. So this is a chart. Parts of the red pigment 1, 4, 7, 12 and 20, and parts of the base is 8 dash dash dash. So I have to find the value which is there in the blank space. Which are the two quantities that are varying. So first you have red pigment and then you have the base. So the red pigment value here, the parts of the red pigment, I'm going to take it as x1, x2, x3, x4 and x5. Okay. And parts of the base, I'm going to take it as y1, y2, y3, y4 and y5. So as the parts of the red pigment increases, the required number of the bases will also increase. Then only it is called as direct variation. Okay, now let us try to solve the question here now. Imagine the red pigment is 1. So for one part, the base is 8. Okay, so for one part, the base is 8. So now I'll take x1 by y1 is equal to x2 by y2. x3 by y3, like this, so on. I already know the value of x1 by y1. Okay, so I take x1 is equal to 1 and y1 is equal to 8. So now I take the values as 1 divided by 8. x2 you know it is 4. Okay, so x2 you know it is 4, but I don't know what is the value of y2. Okay, so x2 is known, y2 is not known. So I'll write 1 by 8 is equal to 4 by y2. So when I cross multiply, imagine I'm going to cross multiply to find the value of y2. So 4 into 8 is equal to y2. The answer is 32. So in place of y2, I am going to write 32. Now in the same way, you are going to write x3 by y3 is equal to x4 by y4. x3 value is 4 and y3 value, x3 value is 7 and y3 value you have to find. So now when you solve this equation, 1 by 8 is equal to 7 by y3. Again you are going to cross multiply. So 7 into 8 is equal to 56. So the value will be 56. Okay, next I have to find the value of y4. So again I'll take 1 by 8. okay, is equal to 12 by y4. So 1 by 12 by y4 is equal to 1 by 8. Again cross multiply, you get the answer as 96. Okay, next x4 by y4, again you have to take 1 by 8, and now you have to take 20 by y4, and now you have to cross multiply. So when you cross multiply, you get 160. Okay, so this is how you are going to solve. Thus the required parts are the base 8, 32, 56, 96 and 160. Fine. Next question. If in the same question, if a part of red pigment requires 75 ml of base, how much red pigment we mix with 1800 ml of base? Imagine the previous question which we have seen, which are the two quantities I am going to like compare. Okay, the parts of the red pigment and the parts of the base. Okay, so these two things I am going to compare, parts of the red pigment and parts of the base. So now first thing, we have to know that it is a direct variation. So the 1800 ml of base, for that how much red pigment is required? So now we have to calculate x1 by y1 is equal to 1 by 75. Okay, and here the base is given. Okay, so that is x2 by y2. So now x1 is 1 and y1 is 75. Okay, x2 you don't know, y2 that is the base is given 180 ml. So when you cross multiply this, okay, when you cross multiply this, you get the answer. The answer is 24. Thus the required red pigment is 24 parts. I hope you understood. Next, a machine in a soft drink factory fills 840 bottles in 6 hours. How many bottles will it fill in 5 hours? So here there are two quantities. So the number of hours and the number of bottles. So number of bottles are going to be compared to the number of hours. So now I'm going to draw a tabular column. Number of bottles. So here 840 bottles are filled in how many hours? It is filled in 6 hours. Okay. Next, I have to find in 5 hours how many bottles will be filled. So 5 hours x bottles, I have to find how many bottles. So when I cross multiply this, if I take the ratio, 840 by x is equal to 6 by 5. So I have to cross multiply. This becomes 6x. Okay, then it becomes 840 into 5. Then now the 6 goes down. So 5 into 840 divided by 6. So when I cancel, I get 140 into 5, that is equal to 700. So the required number of bottles in 5 hours is 700. I hope you understood. Next, a photograph of a bacteria enlarged 50,000 times attains a length of 5 centimeter as shown in the diagram. So here there is a diagram. You can see here. This is a photograph of a bacteria. It is enlarged 50,000 times. What is the actual length of bacteria? If the photograph is enlarged 20,000 times only, what would be its enlarged length? So now here there are two quantities which I am going to compare. That is the length and the enlarged length. So these two quantities I am going to compare, length and the enlarged length. So I am going to make a column. This is the length and the enlarged length. So the original length is here 5 centimeter given in the question. Okay, enlarged length is 50,000 times. Now here the second enlarged length is 20,000 times, and I have to find the original length. Okay, so for 20,000 it is how much? Now if I take the ratio, I get 5 by 50,000 is equal to this value, that is 10 to the power of minus 4. In power surds and indices we have done this. So what happens? For this ratio, I have to check for the value of x by 20,000. Okay, so when I cross multiply, I get the answer as x is equal to 2. So hence the enlarged length of the bacteria when it is 20,000 times only, it is 2 centimeter. Now next, in a model of a ship, the mast is 9 centimeter high, while the mast of actual ship is 12 centimeter high. If the length of the ship is 28 centimeter, how long is the model ship? Now imagine here I am comparing two quantities, length of the ship and the height of the mast. Okay, length of the ship and the height of the mast. So what happens? I am going to write this in a tabular column, length of the ship and height of the mast. So initially they have given the original length is 28 centimeter and the height of the mast is 12 centimeter. Okay, the original length is 28 and the height of the mast is 12. Now they are telling if the mast is 9 centimeter, what is the length of the model ship? so I have to find it as x. So now I will take the ratio. Okay, I'm going to take the ratio, that is 28 by x is equal to 12 by 9. So I have to cross multiply now. So 12 into x is equal to 28 into 9, and now x is equal to 28 into 9 by 12. So when I simplify this, you get the answer as 21. So the required length of the model is 21 centimeter. Next question. Suppose 2 kg of sugar contains 9 into 106 crystal. Okay, I think it is 10 to the power of 6 crystal. How many sugar crystal are there in 5 kg of sugar? 1.2 kg of sugar. So there are two questions to be solved here. So for 2 kg of sugar, I'm going to compare two quantities, that is the kg, the mass, and the crystals. So weight of the sugar and the number of the crystal. So what happens here? Number of bottles filled for 2 kg, the number of crystals are 9 into 10 to the power of 6. And then for 5 kg, how many crystals will be there? So for this, I'm going to do it as x. So now I'm going to take the ratio. Okay, so directly taking the ratio, 2 by 5 is equal to 9 into 10 to the power of 6 into x, divided by x. So when I find the value of x, solving this, I get the answer as 45 into 10 to the power of 6 by 1, or you can say 225 into 10 to the power of 5. So the answer is 22.5, or you can say 225 into 10 to the power of 5 crystals. Okay, next I have to find for 1.2 kg how much. Okay, for 2 kg it is 9 into 10 to the power of 6. So now I have to find for 1.2 kg how much. So the same method, the same steps, the questions, they have given two questions here. Taking the ratio, cross multiplying. So when I cross multiply, you get the answer as 5.4 into 10 to the power of 6. You can do mathematical calculation and try to find the answer. Next question. Rashmi has a road map with a scale of 1 centimeter representing 18 kilometer. She drives on a road for 72 kilometer. What would be her distance covered in the map? So here on the map there is a scale and she is traveling that represents 18 kilometer. She drives on the road for 72 kilometer. Very interesting question. Actual distance in kilometer is compared to the distance covered in the map. Okay, so this is what is happening. So now here the actual distance in kilometer is 18, but on the distance covered on the map is 1 centimeter. Okay, so she drives on for 72 kilometer. Okay, 72 kilometer, that is the distance covered by her. So how much centimeter it would show, that is x. So now I'm going to take the ratio. Okay, so it's a direct proportion. So 18 by 1 is equal to 72 by x. So when I cross multiply, so the answer will be 18 into x is equal to 72 into 1. 18 will go to the denominator in the next step, and finally the answer will be 4. So on the map it would be 4 centimeter. So the distance covered on the map will be 4 centimeter. Next, a 5 meter 60 centimeter high vertical pole cast a shadow 3 meter 20 centimeter long. Find at the same time, the first question, the length of the shadow cast by another pole 10 meter 50 centimeter high, and the height of a pole which cast a shadow 5 meter long. Okay, so now imagine the question here, it is the comparison is between the actual distance in kilometer, sorry, it is the vertical pole, the height of the pole and the shadow. These are the two things been compared. 5 meter 60 centimeter, this is the height, and the shadow, these are the two things been compared. So I'm making a tabular column. So for one, now I'm going to convert everything into a common unit. So 1 meter, you know, it is 100 centimeter. So for 5 meter it will be 500 centimeter. For 5 meter 60 centimeter, I have to take it as 500 plus 60, that means 560 centimeter. So here the height of the pole, I take it as 560 centimeter. Okay, then length of the shadow. Similarly, you are going to find the length of the shadow in meters, that will be 320 centimeter. Okay, so you have to convert that into centimeter. I get 320 centimeter. Now the first question is, the length of the shadow cast by another pole 10 meter 50 centimeter high. The height of the pole is given, you have to find the length of the shadow. So here also you have to convert the meter into centimeters. So what happens, you have just add 100, so you get 1000 here. So the final centimeter is 1050 centimeter. So now here I get everything into centimeter, and you have to find the length of the shadow. Okay, x. So now I have to take the ratio. So in this ratio method, I am going to take 560 by 1050 is equal to 320 by x. So when I cross multiply, I get the answer as 560 into x is equal to 1050 into 320. When I simplify this, I get the answer as x is equal to 600. So the required length of the shadow is 600 centimeter, or you can say it as 6 meter. Okay, you can convert into meter into centimeter and centimeter into meter based on the questions demanded. Now we have done only first part. Now we have to find for the second part, the height of the pole which cast a shadow. Now here they have given the shadow, and now you have to find the height of the pole. So now here what happens, here imagine your light of the shadow is 5 centimeter, that is 500 centimeter, and now you have to find the same ratio, just cross multiply, and you get y is equal to 875. So the required height of the pole is 875 centimeter, or it is also taken as 8 meter 75 centimeter. Next question. A loaded truck travels 14 kilometer in 25 minutes. If the speed remains the same, how far can it travel in 5 hours? So now here let the distance covered be 5 hours in x kilometer. You know, in 1 hour we have 60 minutes. Okay, so 5 hours it will be 300 minutes. Okay, so we have to calculate how far it has traveled in 300 minutes. The question is telling that a loaded truck has traveled 14 kilometer in 25 minutes. Okay, look at this. The distance covered is 14 kilometer and the time taken is 25 minutes. So now I have to calculate in 300 minutes it will cover how much kilometer. So now I have to take the ratio, that is 14 by 25 is equal to x by 300. So when you cross multiply here, x into 25 is equal to 14 into 300. Okay, so when I solve this, you get the answer as x is equal to 168 kilometer. Okay, so the distance traveled by the truck will be 168 kilometer in 5 hours. Okay, fine. So I hope you people understood this, what was going on here till now, direct proportion kind of question. Now let us try to understand a new concept here. Imagine here there is a car traveling certain distance with certain speed. Okay, so now here I have three quantities, speed and time taken. The speed is 40 kilometer per hour and the time taken is 4 hours. Imagine a car is traveling at 40 kilometer per hour, it takes 4 hours. Now if I increase the speed, now the speed of the car is increased 80 kilometer per hour. Can you tell me what would be the time taken? Yes, definitely it will be half of it, that is 2 hours. Correct. So here you can see the observation, when the time is when the speed is increasing, the time is decreasing. Okay, you can see here the speed was 40 kilometer per hour, the time taken was 4 hours, but now the speed is 80 kilometer per hour and the time is 2 hours. So when the speed is increased, time is decreased. So one quantity increases, other quantity decreases. So this kind of things are called as inverse proportion. Okay, so now if I multiply these products, that is 40 into 4 and 80 into 2, that gives me 160. So look at this now, speed and time, these are the two quantities. If the speed of the one of the variable increases, the other variable decreases. Okay, so this is what happens. So if the product of the two quantities remains the constant, this is called as inverse variation. In direct variation we have seen the ratio will remain constant. In inverse variation we are going to see the product will remain constant. Okay, so now I take x is directly inversely proportional to 1 and 1 by y. So I am going to take out this alpha sign, I will multiply it and I will put it as k. So k is a constant, so x into y is always constant. Okay, so inverse proportion, the product is constant. Now let us try to understand some questions and try to solve the inverse proportional question. Which of the following are the inverse proportion? The number of workers on a job and the time to complete the job. Okay, if number of workers are increased, then the time to complete the job would be, definitely it would be less. So it is not in a case of inverse variation. Next, the time taken for journey and the distance traveled in a uniform speed. For longer distance, more time would be required. Hence, it is not case of inverse variation. Area of cultivated land and the crop harvested. It is directly proportional because more of cultivated land will yield more crops. the time taken for a fixed journey, and the speed of the vehicle. Time and speed are inverse proportion because if time is less, speed is more. The population of a country and the area of land per person. For more population, less area per person would be required. Hence, it is not in a case of inverse variation. Okay, fine. So, these were the basic questions. Now, let us try to solve some questions, word problems. Okay, the question here it is: in a television game show, the prize money of rupees 1 lakh is to be divided equally amongst the winner. Compete the following table and find whether the prize money given to an individual winner is directly or inversely proportional to the number of winners. Now imagine here a number of winners are there. If there is one winner, the prize would be 1 lakh. If there are two winners, the prize would be equally divided, that is 50,000. If the number of winners are 4, if it is increasing, the prize money will decrease. Okay, so this is an inverse variation kind of question. So look at this now. I'm going to compare two, number of winners and the price for each winners. Okay, so look at this. The number of winners, I'm going to take x1, x2, x3, x4 and x5. Okay, and the prize winners, I'm going to take it as y1, y2, y3, y4 and y5. Okay, so this now I'm going to solve it. Take the product. First one, it is x1 is equal to 4 and y1 I don't know. Okay, so now here I'm going to multiply x1 into y1 is equal to 1 into 1 lakh, because I know in inverse proportional the product will be same. So now if I take like this, 1 into 1 lakh divided by 4, I get 25,000. So what is the answer? If there are 4 winners, the prize money would be 25,000 for each winner. Now let us try to do for the participant if there are 5 participants. So simple, I'm just going to divide divide 1 lakh by 5. So you get the answer as 1 lakh divided by 5, you get 20,000. So each participant will get 20,000. In similar way, if you divide 1 lakh by 8, okay, inverse proportional, if you divide like this, you get the answer as 12,500. And for 10 members, it will be 10,000. Okay, for 10 members, it would be 10,000. And for 20 members, it would be 5,000. Okay, so now what happens? Look at this tabular column. If the number of participants or the winners are increasing, the prize money for each of them will be decreasing. So if one quantity increases, the other quantity decreases. So this is a case of inverse proportion question. Next, Rahman is making a wheel using spokes. He wants to fix equal spokes in such a way that the angles between any pair of consecutive spokes are equal. Help him by completing the following table. So Rahman is going to do some experiment, number of spokes. If he has 4 spokes, the angle between each spokes will be 90 degree. If there are 6 spokes, the angle between each spokes will be 60 degree. And if the number of spokes are increasing, you have to find whether the angle between two spokes will increase or decrease. Okay, so now it is clearly a case of inverse variation. I am going to compare the number of spokes and the angle between each spokes. Okay, so now let us try to solve. The number of spokes, I take it as x1, x2 and x3. And the angle between the consecutive spokes, I am going to take y1, y2 and y3. Okay, so now let us try to solve the problem here now. Here, x1 is equal to 8, y1 I don't know. So if I take the product, that is x1 into y1 is equal to 4 into 90. You can take 6 into 60 also, you get the same answer. Next, you see 8 into y1 is equal to 4 into 90. You get 45. So the angle, okay, here, if you have 8 spokes, the angle between each spokes will be 45 degree. Now, the next case, if there are 10 spokes, so what I am going to do, take x1 is equal to 10 and y1 you have to find it out. So you know in inverse proportion there is product. So x1 into y1 is equal to 4 into 90. So 10 into y1 is equal to 4 into 90. So now here you get the angle as 36. So if there are 10 spokes, the angle between each spokes will be 36. So now here, if you see the last 12 spokes, if you have 12 spokes, what would be the angle between two spokes? I'm going to multiply 12 into y1 is equal to 4 into 90. So answer will be 30. So here, if there are 12 spokes, the angle between each spokes will be 30. Look at the tabular column now. one quantity is increasing, that is number of spokes are increasing and the angle is decreasing. So this is a case of inverse proportion. So now calculate the angle between of a pair consecutive spokes on a wheel within 15 spokes. The same thing, you are going to take product 15 into y1 is equal to 4 into 90. Okay, so the last answer will be 24. Okay, so next, imagine in the same question, if I twist it little bit more, how many spokes would be needed if the angle between a pair of consecutive spokes is 40 degree? Okay, now in this question what is given, they have given the angle between the spokes, that is 40 degree is the angle between two spokes, and you have to find how many spokes will be required. So now it will be in a reverse direction. Now you have to take x1 40, y1, okay, number of spokes you don't know, so 4 into 90 divided by 40, you get 9 spokes. Okay, so this is the answer. The number of spokes would be 9. So once you understand the concept, once you are comfortable in putting the values, comparing the values, you can solve any kind of questions in direct and indirect. Next, if a box of sweets is divided among 24 children, they will get 5 sweets each. How many would each get if the number of children is reduced by 4? Okay, so here I am reducing the number of children. So if I reduce one quantity, definitely the other quantity will increase. That means initially I have 24 children. When I reduce 4 children, the other remaining children, that is 20 children, will get more sweets. So how many sweets they are going to get each, I am going to find it out. So let us try to compare the number of children and the number of sweets they are going to get. So I have two things here, children and the sweets here. So this is 24 children and we have 5 sweets here. If the number of children are reduced to 4, that means I have to do 24 minus 20. Okay, so 24 minus 20 gives me 24 minus 4 gives me 20. So 20 childrens. Now I have 20 childrens with me. So how many sweets they would each one of them get? So here I have to take the product. So it's simple now, inverse variation. So 20 into n is equal to 24 into 5. So when you divide this, 24 into 5 divided by 20, you get the answer as 6. So each students will get now 6 sweets. This is the answer. I hope it's easy and you understood. Next question. A farmer has enough food to feed 20 animals in cattle for 6 days. How would the food last where 10 more animals in this cattle? Okay. Now what is happening? He has a farmer has 20 animals. Okay. And the food is sufficient for 6 days. Now the number of animals are increased. Okay, so in inverse variation we have seen if the one quantity is increasing, the other quantity is decreasing. That means if the animals are increasing, the food will be definitely lasting for less number of days. So find that we have to take the product now, tabular column. I am comparing animals and the number of days the food is going to sustain. Okay, so animal and number of days. If there are 20 animals, the food will be for 6 days. If 10 more animals are added, that means 20 plus 10 will give me 30. Okay, so what happens here? 20 plus 10 gives me 30. Now the animals are 30. I have to find this food will last for how many days. Okay, so now I have to multiply, that is 30 into x, since it's an inverse variation. Okay, so 30 into x is equal to 20 into 6. You get answer as 4. So now the food will be lasting for only 4 days. Okay, fine. I hope you understood simple mathematical calculation. Next, a contractor estimates that 3 persons could rewire Jasminder's house in 4 days. If he uses 4 persons instead of 3, how long should they take to complete the job? Okay. Now here there is a contractor. Okay, and he estimates that 3 persons could rewire in 4 days. So if he uses 4 persons instead of 3, how long a person would take? Definitely if the number of persons are increasing, the number of days will decrease. So I'm comparing two quantities, the persons and number of days. So I make a tabular column. So you have person and you have number of days. So if 3 persons are there, they can finish in 4 days. If 4 persons are there, they can finish in how many days? So simple, now the equation goes as, you have to multiply the 4 into x. Okay, you can do like this also. 4 into x is equal to 12. That means 3 days. Okay, the answer would be 3 days. Okay, so they will complete in 3 days. This is how the simple calculation goes on. Okay, next. A batch of bottles was packed in 25 boxes with 12 bottles in each box. If the same batch is packed using 20 bottles in each box, how many boxes would be filled. Okay, so now what is happening? There are boxes, and in that box there are some bottles. So in the initial case 25 boxes, and inside the 25 boxes there are 12 bottles. Now what is happening? I am increasing the number of bottles, so the number of boxes will decrease. So try to understand, I am comparing two quantities. One is boxes and the other is bottles. Okay, one is boxes and other is bottle. Now look at the first case. Number of bottles, here we have 12 bottles, and how many boxes I have 25 boxes. Okay. In the second case, if you see, there are 20 bottles. Okay, 20 bottles. So how many boxes I require? That's it. Now you have to multiply. You get answer as 20 into x is equal to 12 into 25. So when you simply calculate this simplification, you get 15. So the number of boxes will be 15. Look at this carefully. If the number of bottles are increasing, the number of boxes are decreasing. So it's a case of inverse variation. Next. A factory requires 42 machines to produce a given number of articles in 63 days. How many machines would be required to produce the same number of articles in 54 days? Okay, so now 42 machines are required in days. Okay, 63 days. So I'm comparing machines and number of days. Okay, so what happens here? Simple. Actually, this is a wrong tabular column. Imagine there are 63 days and I have 42 machines. Okay. So now in 54 days, how many machines are required? So I have to invest little more and bring more machines. So you have to just multiply this. Okay, so the answer becomes 54 into x and 63 into 42. So when you simplify this, the answer is 49. So I would require more machines. Okay, the less the number of days, more the number of machines. That's it. Next. A car takes 2 hours to reach a destination by traveling at the speed of 60 km per hour. So I'm comparing time and the speed. How long will it take when the car travels at the speed of 80 km? That means I'm increasing the speed. Definitely the time taken will be less. So I'm comparing two quantities here. First I have to compare the speed and the time. Okay, the number of hours. So now I write speed and number of hours. 60 km speed if I go, I reach in 2 hours. So what happens if I reach it in 80 kilometers per hour speed? The number of hours I have to calculate. So now if I multiply these two variants, that is inverse variation. Okay, or you can take the ratio, and again it's the same thing. 80 into x is equal to 60 into 2. You get the answer as 3 by 2, or 3 by 2 hours can be written as mixed fraction also, or in point also. But you can go with 3 by 2 hours. Next. Two persons could fit new windows in a house in 3 days. One of the persons fell ill before the work started. How long would the job take now? Okay, so the question is, if there are two people working in a house, they take 3 days. Okay, so in that one person is ill, that means the complete work is going to be done by only one person, right? So I'm going to compare two things. Okay, the number of persons and number of days. Okay, so number of persons and number of days. So here I have two persons, they will require 3 days. Now one person is not joining, so I have only one person left. So one person will do in how many days? Okay, so this is the question. So simple, I have to just cross multiply. You get the answer as 6. Okay, so the answer is 6 days. It will require double the number of days. Okay, so x is equal to 6. Now next. Two persons. Okay, actually it's the same question. I have solved this here. No need of this question once again. Okay, now let us look at this question. A school has 8 periods a day, each of 45 minutes duration. How long would each period be if the school has 9 periods a day, assuming the number of school hours to be the same? Okay. Now a school is having 8 periods. I am comparing two quantities, periods and the time duration. Okay. Now the question is to increase the period. So definitely the time duration will be less. So what happens here? I am comparing period and the duration. So if I have 8 period, one class will be for 45 minutes. Okay. And if I have 9 period, how much duration it would be? So it's an inverse variation. You have to just cross multiply and you get the answer. So 9 into x is equal to 8 into 45. You get answer as 40 minutes. Okay, so the answer here, if there is 9 periods, each period will be for 40 minutes. Okay, fine. So I hope you understood the basics of direct and indirect variation. If the fundamentals are strong, let us now try to use this basics idea in solving some applications like time and work. Okay. Now look at this. Suppose A can finish a piece of work in 8 days. So what happens? In one day, A will do 1/8 of the 1 by 8 of the work. Okay, suppose that the work done of A in one day is 1 by 6. Then the time taken by A to finish the whole work is 6 days. Okay, you have to take the reciprocals. Next, few rules before trying to solve the time and work questions. Suppose A can finish a piece of work in n days, then work done by A in one day is 1 by n. Okay, imagine if they in question, if they have given a question like A can finish a work in 10 days. So in one day work it is 1 by 10. If the question is saying that if B can do a finish a work in 15 days, so B's one day work is 1 by 15. You have to remember this. Okay. Now let us take an example to understand the rule. Suppose that the work done by A in one day is 1/6, then the time taken by A to finish the whole work is 6 days. Okay, now let us try to solve few basic questions here. A alone can finish a piece of work in 12 days. B alone can do it in 15 days. If both of them work at it together, how much time will they take to finish it? So A can do it in 12 days, B can do it in 15 days. They both are joining together. Definitely they will take less number of days. So look at this now. 12 days. Okay, we have to find A and B in how many days they are going to do the work. Okay, so look at this now. Work done by A in one day is 1 by 12th. Work done by B is 1 by 15. So work done by A and B in one day together if they start doing the work. So can I add this to 1 by 12 plus 1 by 15? So if I take the LCM and try to solve the problem, I get the answer as 3 by 20. Now, if I take the reciprocal of this, the time taken by A and B to finish the work will be 20 by 3 days. Okay, so this is the answer. Okay, now this you can convert into mixed fraction. Look at this. I divide 20 divided by 3. I get 6. Then you get the answer as 6 2 by 3. Okay, so it takes 6 2 by 3 days to complete the work if A and B do the work together. Okay, now let us try to do some more example. A and B together can do a piece of work in 12 days, while B alone can finish it in 30 days. In how many days A alone can finish the work? Okay, so A and B, now here they have given both of them can do the work in 12 days. And B alone can do the work in 30 days. So A alone can do the work in how many days? That's it. So if I take A and B's work, one day's work, so what I take? 1 by 12. Okay, now if I take B's alone work, that is 1 by 30. Now I have to find A alone will do the work in how many days. For this you have to subtract 1 by 12 and 1 by 30. So A and B one day work 1 by 12 minus that of the B's work. Okay, so when I take 1 by 12 minus 1 by 30. So when I simplify this, you get the answer as 1 by 20. So now, if I want to find the value of A alone can do the work in how many days, you have to take the reciprocal, that is equal to 20 days. Fine. So these are the examples of time and work. Now there is another applications of direct and inverse variation kind of questions, that is pipes and cistern. Both are same, the logic is same. A cistern or a water tank is connected with two pipes. Okay, for example, inlet and outlet. The pipe which fills the tank is called as inlet, and the pipe which fills the empty the tank is called as outlet. Okay, so now rule number 1. Suppose a pipe fills a tank in n hours. A part of the tank filled in 1 hour is 1 by n. So this the work done is written as in 1 hour 1 by n. Okay, so these are the basic rules that you have to understand. Second rule. Suppose an outlet empties a full tank in m hours. So work done in 1 hour is 1 by m. Okay, so I'm going to take time and then the work done. Okay, these are the two quantities that I am comparing. So now let us try to do some more questions. If x and y vary directly, find the missing entries in the following table. Okay, so they are going to vary directly. In direct proportion, you know the ratio is always same. So what I do, I take the ratio. Okay, so in direct variation, I take 2.5 by 5 is equal to 1 by 2 is written, right? Next, I have to find the value that is in the blank place there here. So 1 by 2 is equal to x by 8. So I have to take the value as 4. So x is equal to 4. So here the second value will be 4. Next, if I keep doing it, x by 24 is equal to 1 by 2. The answer is 12. Okay, and then if I take 21 by x is equal to 1 by 2, the answer will be 42. Okay, so this is how I'm going to solve all the values. So the entries are completed. Next, if x and y vary directly, find the missing entries of the following table. You can take it as a homework or you can practice by yourself, but still I'll just run over with the solutions here. So 9 by 45 can be written as 2. The ratio is the same. Okay, so take the value as x and y. Okay, so x by 3 is equal to 2. The first value is 6. The second value would be, the last value would be multiplying this to 26.50. So the missing entries are 6 and 26.50. Next, a car travels 432 km on 48 liters of petrol. How far would it travel on 20 liters of petrol? So now what is happening? The liters, the number of liter of petrol is decreasing, so the distance traveled will be definitely less. Okay, so now this is a case of comparing speed and the number of hours. So petrol in liters is 48, distance is 432. So in 20 liters, how far it would go? So it is a case of direct variation. So 48 by 20 is equal to 432 by x. So when you solve this, you get the answer as x is equal to 180. So it would cover a less distance, that is 180 kilometer. Next, Rima types 540 words during half an hour. How many words would she type in 6 minutes? Okay, so half an hour, that means in half hour we have 30 minutes, and they are asking questions as 6 minutes how much. Okay, so now here you have to convert hour, that is half hour, into minutes. I'm comparing the number of words typed and the time taken. Okay, so the number of words and the time taken here. So 540 words will be typed in 30 minutes. So in 6 minutes, how many words would be done? So I have to take the ratio once again, and you get the ratio as x value as 540 into 6 by 30. You get 108 words. So in 6 minutes, she would be typing only 108 words. Next, the amount of extension in an elastic spring varies directly as the weight hung on it. If the weight is 150 gram, produces an extension of 2.9 centimeter, then what weight would produce an extension of 17.4 centimeter? Okay, so I'm comparing the extension and the weight. If the extension is increasing, that means the weight is also more. Correct? So I'm going to make a tabular column, the weight in grams and the distance or the length. So 150 gram, if I put the weight, the extension is 2.9. But now the question says that the extension is 17.4. What would be the weight? So you have to find the direct proportion. Okay, so now 50, you have to find the value of x, and when you find the value of x, you get it as 900 grams. Okay, so the weight put there is 900 grams. Next, if a and b vary inversely, fill in the blanks. So here they are going to inversely vary. That means if one quantity is decreasing, the other quantity will increase. So the first quantity is 8 by 10. So 8 into 10 is 80. So now 8 by 20 is equal to 40. So the next value will be 40. The next value will be 4. I'm just going to divide it. Okay, and finally I get the answer. Okay, it's so easy. Next, if a and b vary inversely, fill in the blanks. Same thing you are going to do. You are going to take the product and find the answer. Next, let us try to do an application of time and work. If 52 men can do a piece of work in 35 days, in how many days 28 men will do it? So look at this question carefully. The number of men, initially we have 52, and now the number of men is decreased, it is 28. So you have to tell me the days will be increased or decreased. Definitely the number of days will be more. So now I am going to compare two things, that is the men and the number of days. So the number of men are 52 in the beginning and number of days are 35. And the next thing is I'm going to take 28 men. So how many days I require? So I'm just going to cross multiply it, or you can say inverse proportion. So x into 28 is equal to 52 into 35. So when you solve this, you get the answer as 65. So it will require 65 days to complete if 28 men work on that project. Okay, next. Shalu cycles to her school at an average speed of 12 km per hour. It takes her 20 minutes to reach the school. If she wants to reach a school in 15 minutes, what should be her average speed? What does it mean here? If the time is decreased, the speed should increase. That means if one quantity is decreased, the other quantity will increase. It is a question of inverse variation. So now I'm going to compare the speed and the time. Okay, so now comparing the speed is 12 kilometer per hour. Now the time taken is 20 minutes. Now the question demands that the time required is 15 minutes. Okay, I require 15 minutes. So what would be the speed? So now I have to find the value of this. So when I find the value of this by multiplying, cross multiplying, I get the answer as x into 15 is equal to 12 into 20. So x is equal to 12 into 20 by 15. You get the answer as 16. That means she would have to increase the speed by 16. Okay, 16 kilometer per hour speed she has to travel. Next, if x and y vary inversely as each other and x is 10 and y is 6, find y when x is 15. Okay, so they have already given all the data here. Just take the product. 10 into 6 is equal to 15 into y, and you get the answer, that is 4. So this is the answer. Fine. We have come to an end of the questions chapter called as direct and indirect proportion. We have also seen in applications like time and works and pipes and cistern. I hope you understood. If you have any doubt, you can contact me. You can WhatsApp me. I'll clear your doubt. Thank you. Have a nice day.